afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We have talked about this theme, and Sandy has helped set a very nice context to the whole conversation, which is around imagineering the 2020. We talked about this research, 16 years old, what does it entail? Every time we look back and we think about what could have been as the insights and what organizations have done differently, it's actually Vision 2020, and it's far more easier. This year, we wanted to take a little bit of a punt and take a forward step into this. The whole theme, if you see through the gallery walk, and as I was talking to some of you during that conversation, some of the guests here talked about, it's intuitive, but it's really not coming to our face. It's hugely impacting the way we look at this data and what it could mean and for the changes that it will come by. So when we look at all of these changes and combine them together, it really tells us a story which is of a much bigger and a larger nature. So let me give you a few facts to begin with. The Panama Canal, when it was created, the cost of building that up was $2.5 billion. It was the same cost that it had for a first genome project to map the DNA. $2.5 billion just to do that. Today, to map a particular DNA, it costs $1,500. And by 2020, that figure is projected to reduce to $500. Which means the pace at which the change is now rapidly evolving is far faster, and it's only going to be increasing in velocity as it goes by. What does it mean really for us? First, and this is part of the gallery walk, the businesses are evolving at a breakthrough speed, and the organizations that will be designed for future will look very different from the way they look today. That's our first change as we see it evolving. Second, the workplace, because the technology is omnipresent, because all the processes are undergoing a change, the jobs will change in future. The way jobs get delivered will be different from the way the jobs get delivered today. And third, people expectations. And all of us know about 4 generations working together in one, so to say, demographic profile. The people expectations have changed. All of us are witnessing it. I've had some conversations in the past, maybe 5 or 6 years back, with some of the leaders in the fraternity, and they have said, the Gen Y doesn't get it. Actually, it's a reflection for us now to say there's the next generation who's already at the doorstep, who's into it. So therefore, the people relationships will change in future. So there are 3 things we are saying. The business is changing at a far faster pace. The way organizations get designed will evolve, and it will change. Second, the work processes will undergo a change, and therefore the jobs, the way they get delivered, will change. And third, the people aspirations, expectations are changing, and therefore how we manage them will also undergo a change. Now let's look at, given all of these changes, all of us talked about our people challenges. What are we talking about? This is really the summary of everything that we talked about, and as I'm also looking at it for the first time. What are the key things that come out for us? 3 big words that I can see, of course, is just pure talent, which I presume is from a point of view of attracting talent, retaining talent. There's engagement of them and retention. We see some words coming out there, which is around purpose, something around analytics. The millennials, that's the point that we were making earlier. Diversity, is also featuring up right there, as well as culture. Learning around there. So you see, it's a bit of a mixed basket. In the center, what's out there, as it seems to me at least, it's something which is very obvious. But the themes of what's are changing, between all of us as well, we haven't got one concrete single thing that's jumping up. It really has many themes, and all of them in some way are getting equal prominence. Peter Thiel, he's a very famous author for the book 0 to 1. I'm sure some of you have read it. If not, definitely do. He talks about how the changes that are coming by are no longer going to be linear, and therefore organizations cannot think about their competitive world in just expanding and doing better from a globalization point of view. They need to think more vertical. They need to think about really the outcomes with a 10x impact that is not there currently. And because future will look so different, as I'm looking at this, Peter Thiel says, just because we have trouble or we can't accurately predict the future, it doesn't and shouldn't stop us from imagining it. As we go through this conversation forward, I would request and urge each one of you to immerse through this, because what's going to come up will require participation from all of us. Maybe it's going to give us a mixed bag, but then we will have to try and imagine what 2020 could look like. We have taken a few steps for what it could mean for the organization, and of course, that's where I'll set the context of what the next panels will talk about. But to bring it forth, one, we believe with the businesses changing, the organizations will be designed for the future, and they will be designed in a far more networked manner. There will be smaller teams of people coming together, multifaceted, different walks of life, going and doing jobs which are beyond their daily ones, and therefore solving problems of tomorrow. These teams could even be temporary. In technology world, we have already heard about agile, software development, the processes that they are employing. We believe organizations for future, keeping in mind people's aspirations, will allow far more of movement of talent across, formation of these small network teams, and then they will dissolve after having worked about it. The challenges that it poses, and that's the first challenge for the HR fraternity as we look at it. The first challenge will be, how will these teams work together? I had the pleasure of talking to some of the leaders who are even sitting here, and there is some independent research that they are doing in their organizations with data to say, what defines an effective team? The world, the teams of future will require far more diversity and inclusion in the way they operate. And the way they will work together and collaborate will be a big challenge for HR. Please remember, these teams would have come for a shorter period, so they don't have the luxury of knowing each other for a far longer period. So how will HR preempt and solve this team conundrum is the first visioning that we are putting forward. Work culture, and culture is again a word that we saw out there. More and more, if the teams will operate in that manner and they will work for the business, what kind of a culture should it create to deliver a 10x impact? The work, as we predict, will be far more automated. There will be artificial intelligence, which is already true in certain parts of the industries. It will spread across. Man and machine, more and more confluence, which means how people operate and work will change, jobs will undergo a change, and therefore, people will have to learn on the fly. Smaller teams coming together, learning quickly is critical. HR will have to support how the automation of these work processes happen and how they learn. We are already witnessing a lot of mobile learning platform, gaming technologies coming by. Learning is bit-sized, to the point, even in some of the industries as we talk about now. It's going to spread far more. That's our second prediction for the future. Mobile, something that is helping us connect with each other. The younger generation, of course, connects and does, far better than possibly I do. The older generation has to still learn how to manage the young and their aspiration in this more connected world. The impact it is creating, according to us, are twofold. One, our brand out there is becoming transparent. People have used the word naked as well, but it's absolutely true. Whatever you tweet today becomes a symbol of what goes out. So it's definitely going beyond the four walls that Anand was referring to. So the challenge for HR will be twofold. One, the emerging brand, which is transparent? How will HR address? And second, with a workforce which has the old and the young together, how do some of the older people managers learn that command and control styles have to go away and that we have to be more coaches and friends before we have to be managers? And that's, from a work relationship point of view, is going to be a big change. If I could draw this back and link it to the first point I made, remember, teams are temporary. There are no permanent people managers. I know certain organizations which even today don't get a manager to do performance appraisal. They have a designated appointed coach, and only that coach can do the rating for an employee. So all of this is evolving at a rapid pace. We didn't want it to have a flare of 10 years out. We believe it's right at our doorsteps. In the next 4 years, a lot of things will look different. These 3 challenges are the ones that we want to be at least thought about, if not solved, in today's conversation. The rest of the panel discussions will therefore align around these 3 cementing blocks that we are calling, and will address: 1, informed decisions for definitive success, which means apart and rather than measuring engagement later or any of the analytics that go forward, can HR have a design level thinking and go into the purpose of what we are measuring and then start to define the processes around it? I think the hype is to use anything new that comes by. We have seen some of our clients talking about pulse surveys becoming very exciting. Absolutely they are, but they can't be treated in the same way without having a design level thinking of what you are trying to measure, right? Because your relationship with your employee is far more complex than just doing that. Second, culture, which we believe is really the binding force between both the strategy and the execution. That will be the second panel discussion. And in changing and evolving world with the whole team formations, changing works, what role will culture play, and how will that support the future success for strategy for most of the organizations? And third, we talked about brand is right out there. Employers will have to live the brand. Traditionally, it has been lived from an attraction perspective. We want to hear, if the life in future is going to look very different, then how are we going to create a brand that aligns to the purpose of the organization? And why is that critical? So the third panel will actually be what can HR as a fraternity learn in this evolving world from professionals, from marketing, and from others who are doing this for a living. So for the next 3 panels, I hope all of you will engage as much. We will keep on posing questions, keep on trying to look for word clouds, and keep on getting your feedback as it goes through. Like I said earlier, even if we can't predict the future as we sit today, there's nothing that stops us from imagining it. So please immerse yourself, and welcome once again for the Best Employer Learning Conference. Thank you.